Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of Calling All Titans, I want to talk about Cthulhu. The original Cthulhu, not the imposter. Cthulhu is the new titan for, you guessed it, the minions of Cthulhu. I've mentioned before that I don't like this faction, and I'm not a fan of Madness either, but I'm setting that aside for this video. Or at least I'll attempt to. I have mixed feelings about this titan. Also, I'm not a fan of Cthulhu theming. We didn't need a Lovecraft letter AEG. You already created a better version of Love Letter, and it's called Lost Legacy, and it's perfect. Sorry, I'm still bitter about that. The minions of Cthulhu need power. They have only 8 minions, 4 of which want to destroy themselves for action recursion. Unfortunately, none of their actions grant power boosts. They either set up your partner faction or throttle the game. They do, however, have a pretty famous infinite combo with the seal is broken, but in general, they need power. Cthulhu gains power by receiving 1 power counter whenever you play or draw a Madness card. This is unbounded by turn or quantity, so it can happen any phase of the turn, any number of times. Before talking about synergies, I have 2 issues with Cthulhu that I'd like to address. The first is that, more than any other titan, Cthulhu seems like a repeat of its king minion, in this case, the Star Spawn. The only difference is that Cthulhu has the option to draw a Madness card, thus powering itself up. Instead of taking the faction in a new direction, Smash Up doubled down on the current strategy, which I also lamented about Major Ursa of the Bear Cavalry. But this is much more explicit, and it leads into my second issue, which is the actual direction of the faction. Cthulhu is directly tied into Madness. While this creates a dependency on the Cthulhu expansion, you need that expansion anyway to play the Minions Cthulhu faction, and therefore this titan. No, what I mean is that by basing the entirety of the ability on Madness cards, it makes it difficult to synergize since it pertains to very few factions at this time. Interestingly, I never really felt this way about the Hill That Strolls, which also somewhat doubles down on the same ignoble strategy, but there were many more minions that have value when given away, and this value is not locked to any particular strategy. Still, Cthulhu has its uses. At first, I found the entry criteria curious because it causes you to sacrifice your regular action play and must be played on a base where you have a minion. That seemed off for a minion-starved faction, but I actually like it that way. This helps protect Cthulhu, which is important since you must draw 2 Madness cards to bring this titan into play. This won't trigger its power gain, but you can immediately give a Madness card back to your opponent using its talent. If Cthulhu clashed easily, you'd be left with excess Madness cards in your hand, and therefore less points. Cthulhu can get quite powerful because of the untapped nature of its ongoing ability. The minions of Cthulhu draw quite a few Madness cards. Whispers in Darkness draws a card and gives you 2 additional actions, one of which can be to play that Madness card to return it. Cthulhu would get 1 power for the draw and 1 for the play, which is like a yield to rage that generates permanent power counters. With both copies of this card, Cthulhu gets 4 power counters without burning your original action. Cthulhu could also take advantage of a previously odd ability, the special ability of Cthulhu's Chosen. This minion can draw a Madness card and gain +2 power temporarily when a base is scoring, even if it's not on it. This means that Cthulhu can go up to 3 power unexpectedly, regardless of what base it's on. It also means that you can get 9 total power and possibly cause a base to break while another is in the middle of resolving. Finally, Cthulhu can spam Madness cards into another player's hand, particularly when combined with its Star Spawn. You can either give 2 cards per turn, which is -1 VP to an opponent, or create an engine where Cthulhu draws the card that Star Spawn gives away. Using this strategy, I think Cthulhu is much stronger in 2-player games where you can focus all of your effort on a single opponent and give them -1 VP every turn or every other turn. You can use Corruption to destroy their minions to slow the game down, then give them the very Madness card that you got, all while powering Cthulhu up. If you manage to get to furthering the cause, you can create a very efficient, very infuriating 1-2 punch between Cthulhu and the Starspawn. For this reason, I strongly recommend the superheroes to get the Starspawn as soon as possible. Cthulhu is easy to bring out, and it's possible to have your engine as early as turn 2 with a well-timed mild-mannered citizen. The superheroes also have the means to repeat this extensively, as they have radioactive exposure to turn their lowered-powered minions into the Starspawn in a single turn. The servitors can place radioactive exposure back on top of your deck, and you can do this up to 4 times. Remember, the superheroes still have their recursive efforts and have 5 mild-mannered citizens, so you can drive your single opponent insane quite literally while clogging their hand. Either they get so full of madness that they lose points and have to discard cards, or waste their action every turn. Either is preferable. Aside from superheroes, it's hard to find natural synergies for Cthulhu because of the dependency on madness. This limits us to the 3 other expansion factions. The Innsmouth have a very good card for Cthulhu in Recruitment, which draws 3 madness cards, but why wouldn't you play Dagon if you're playing Innsmouth? This leaves Miskatonic University and Elder Things. I like Miskatonic University because of the self-contained madness nature, but they are more focused on discarding madness than drawing it. This can still work in Cthulhu's favor because to discard madness, you need to draw it first. They also have a similar burst card in Things Best Not Known, which is an easier version of the 9 power that the Cthulhu's Chosen can also generate with Cthulhu. While you have to choose between giving the madness away and discarding it for the Professor's ability, hopefully the 2 factions have enough madness cards to allow you to do both. Gate to the Beyond can become your draw factory, and you may still be able to give 2 madness per turn. With the Elder Things, I actually prefer the Minions of Cthulhu as a counter pick than a partner. The Elder Things specialize in giving out madness cards, and do really well at higher player counts, since they can attack all players. Cthulhu and his denizens can give them right back, meaning that the Elder Things player is now attacking everyone but you, friendly fire included. If you did have a faction with talent-based action plays, Cthulhu could also synergize as having a talent to gain 2 power counters every turn. Cthulhu could focus on drawing cards, and the extra action could be to play madness cards to return them, still netting a 2nd power. But 2 of these factions, the Wizards and Changerbots, have their own Titans, if you can even call Mergicon that. Here's where I land on Cthulhu. If you really like the Minions of Cthulhu, you will really like this Titan because it gives their strategy, originally a gimmick in my opinion, new purpose. If you ask my gaming group, I am normally a very antagonistic player, but for some reason this isn't true in Smash Up. But if you are, I actually think Cthulhu makes its faction more antagonistic than the Elder Things because it's repeatable and talent-driven. Cthulhu works perfectly with its Starspawn by repeating the ability while adding the option to draw. In this way, it's a much more natural fit than the Great Wolf Spirit, simply doubling the Starspawn talent since you may not have a 2nd madness to give. I'll say this, I think it's time for Smash Up to revisit madness again. It's been over 10 expansions, and if the game ever goes back to madness and changes it, I think Cthulhu will really benefit from it. What do you think about Cthulhu? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this week. 1 more to go. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.